Now then, we have a whiskey here, which is tall, dark, handsome. It really makes sense, therefore, that I'm joined by Ross to help me taste this whiskey. Very good.
Very
working
good.
on that. I've been thinking about it for ages. So this is a single cask bottling of Highland Park, bottled by our friends at Gleann Mòr in Edinburgh. This was also sort of released kind of in collaboration with Hibernian FC, of which Bevvy are a sponsor and also Gleann Mòr are a sponsor, celebrating the Hibs legend Pat Stanton, who was captain of the team when they won the cup in 1972. Obviously we are whiskey people, not particularly Hibernian history people, so we'll talk about the whiskey today. Highland Park, what do you know?
Yeah,
Tell me
lots of fond memories of drinking Highland Park. Unfortunately, I've never been up to Orkney, but it is the most northern distillery in Scotland, of course, and a really old distillery as well. 1798.
Yeah.
So, you know, those kind of traditional values and the idea of thinking what it would have been like on the island back then. It's just something that's amazing to think about. But what a malt whiskey. I mean, it's a massive brand. I think no matter where you go in Scotland, if it's a big city or a rural town, there'll be a bottle of Highland Park 12 in that back bar. We're speaking previously about how much we love independent bottlings, so the opportunity to try Highland Park in isolation, that beautifully inconsistent idea of a hand-picked cask.
Sure.
So we know we like Highland Park, will we like this one? I'm really excited to get to try it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I think Highland Park 12 is, you know, the expression that you find, as you say, in most bars and most supermarkets in the UK. Is a great whiskey.
It's a fantastic
very well
whiskey.
rounded. It's got a nice amount of depth to it. Nice touch of smoke, but not too much.
Yeah.
It's a great whiskey. This is also a 12-year-old Highland Park, but as you say, a single cask. There's, you know, there might be some similarities, but it can be completely.
It's safe to assume, as I look at this, is a sherry butt.
This particular one has been finished in Manzanilla.
Oh, really? Wow.
Manzanilla Cask,
that's really interesting.
which is quite fun. So obviously
fantastic.
it has contributed a fair amount of colour to it.
Amazing.
Manzanilla sherry, is that something you've had much experience with? It's kind of a lesser
Yeah,
known
slightly drier. I remember my sommelier I worked with described it as the sexiest sherry.
Oh, okay.
Because it was nutty and dry and acidic, you know.
Are they sexy words?
Well, apparently. Well, if you're a sommelier. I'm not. I just like them all. But Manzanilla, quite unusual to see in the production of whiskey. You actually see more Fino than Manzanilla. So it's quite experimental, but the colour it's given is spectacular.
Yeah, it should be really exciting. I think it is a finish, but I think it's either been a fairly lengthy finish or the casks have had a fair amount of influence
really
on
active,
it, which gives it all that colour.
And the brand itself, I mean, Gleann Mòr and Rare Find is something we're seeing more and more of in Edinburgh. It's not a brand that I was aware of a couple of years ago, but I've had, you know, Tomatin 36 from them. They've released a Bunnahabhain 40 and Aberfeldy 17. Brilliant big name distilleries in independent bottlings. It's not uncommon. It's such a crowded space with all these independent bottlers, but you see fantastic whiskies, but generally flora and fauna, you know, Linkwood or Thrusk, Mannock-Mòr. And everybody releases them between 9 and 12 years old.
Yeah, more Kalila than you can stick at.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really impressive that for a relatively new bottler, they're able to get such established distilleries and impressive casks as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's all about good connections. I think being able to have access
That's whiskey,
to these.
isn't it? That's what it's all about.
It's all about who you know. But yeah, this would be a really exciting one to try. As I say, this was released by Gleann Mòr in sort of collaboration with Hibs, and it was available by ballot as well on the Bevvy.
Okay.
So it's completely sold out, but we managed to grab a bottle which we held back for tasting stock. So we're lucky to give this a try. So yeah, should we open up and see?
Let's do it.
See what it's like.
Yeah, I've not had many Manzanilla casks at all.
I love your accent, by the way. Very
Manzanilla, this is it.
very
Done to here, eh?
Very authentic.
I think if you put, you know, I'm from Ayrshire, Manzanilla, I think it'd be a little bit disappointing. You know?
It's Manzanilla.
Manzanilla, but the colour's spectacular. My assumption is this will be cask strength as well.
It is. It's bottled at a hearty 55.2%. But, you know, with Highland Park being a fairly robust spirit, and obviously sherry, you know, giving a lot of character to it, I'm not anticipating it being overly strong, not overly spirity.
I mean, I've had Highland Park single cask before. You know, they tend to be one of the distilleries, as far as I'm aware, that take a particularly high strength new make spirit.
Yeah, okay.
Often above 68 to 73, like a really So I've had single casks, you know, independently and officially at 12 years old at 68% alcohol. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So this should be much more manageable.
Yeah, hopefully it's less likely to...
It won't blow your head off.
Not blow your head off.
Should be some complexities as well.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, yeah, as you say, a huge amount of colour on this. We can only assume, obviously, fairly active casks. On the nose of the Highland Park is, I don't know, I'd say it's famous for being well-rounded. So it has got some smoke to it. But I feel I'd be fairly confident I could identify Highland Park in the nose. I totally
agree with you. I was going to say that I drink so many whiskies and it's really hard to pinpoint. That's a distillery, but that has all of the distillery characteristics of a classic Highland Park. Okay. It's quite dirty. There's a wee bit of that kind of murkiness in there.
Yeah, it's funny to say on the nose, but it smells heavy. There's a lot going on. It's very thick. It's, obviously looking at the body as well, it's quite a viscous dram.
Almost cognac-like, I mean.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah, it does smell good. Let's give this a little sip.
How good is that?
It's lovely.
That is.
It's a lovely kind of, imagine as an after dinner dram, a dessert dram. Beautiful.
It's so indulgent.
Yeah.
Less peat on the palate than I was expecting.
Do you think it still tastes like Highland Park? I've tried this before, and I think I love Highland Park. I love sherry whiskies. This kind of
the quality of the cask is so high that it could probably be many distilleries. It's interesting because the nose is so distinctively Highland Park.
Yeah.
The palate is a great sherry finished whiskey. Yeah. Whether it tastes like a Highland Park or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Is that a polite way of saying it's all cask? Or
I bet the cask is very influential, which I like. I personally, I love a a sherry bomb. Yeah. And it's really unusual because when you think of sherry bomb, you think of Pedro Jimenez. Yeah. Or even Oloroso. You don't think of a dry sherry. No. So this is really, really interesting. But yeah, the nose and the palate, two different whiskies, which is what I love about single cask, independently bottled whiskies.
Yeah, I do feel that the strength was probably necessary for this one. I feel like 43%, you would lose a lot of it, lose some of that power.
I think it's something we're going to see a lot more of, particularly in Edinburgh. This happens to be the collaboration of Hibs, but I know that Rare Find and Gleann Mòr now have the Edinburgh Whisky Company as well, which is really exciting. Do some more independent bottlings and have a bit more of a range. But again, for new boys on the scene, to bring such established liquid, I think is really impressive. Yeah.
It's such a complex, it's almost like quite a chewy dram, isn't it? There's so much to it.
Absolutely. Quite waxy. I think there's plenty of spice.
Does the slight kind of that heathery smokiness you get with Highland Park, does it come through much on the finish for you, or is it still all cask?
For me, it's a very sticky, chewy finish. I wouldn't say. I love the story of the heather and what they do up on Orkney. I think the cask is maybe a little bit too big for to find the floral notes. Yeah, and that for me. But actually, I absolutely adore it in the way that I think it's a dram I feel quite guilty drinking because it's so indulgent. Like, I don't think I could have many of them, but I'd always want to end my night on this. Okay.
It's like a chocolate fudge cake for whiskies.
100%.
Yeah. I think without question, it's a great dram. It's a really kind of full-on intense experience. Anybody who loves those big sherry flavours, sherry bombs, as you say, will love this.
Have you been up to Highland Park?
I've not actually. I'd love to visit and see, obviously, the history of the place. And
the brand ambassador, Martin Vardson's been there for over 20 years. Is the Danish. I think he's based in Copenhagen, but he does such an amazing job of representing the brand. And they're always really, really approachable, I find, the people at Highland Park. At any whisky event, everybody knows Highland Park, everybody knows the 12, the 18, but they've actually got some really funky releases they do as well. And yeah, I'm really excited to see anything more from Gleann Mòr.
Yeah, they really know what they're doing. As you say, they're using great whiskey and doing great things with different casks. So it's a great, really exciting combination. But yeah, overall, complex dram, loads going on, bit of a guilty pleasure.
A bit of a beast, yeah.
Maybe not one for the Highland Park diehards.
I would agree with you there. But if you like a sherry bomb and you like something that's a little different and quite unique, it's a great whiskey. Although you can't get it anymore.
So unfortunately, so you have to speak to me to see if it's
a pleasure to try it.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to share it. Slange.
Cheers.
Great stuff.